Is there anything that you would do differently? Yes, I would ask people to tell the truth.
Revealing the truth about Meghan Markle's time within the royal family would mean releasing the bullying report, releasing the birth certificates, and allowing the members of the Sussex Survivors Club to tell their stories of the most horrendous bullying at the hands of Meghan Markle.
The problem, Megan, is I don't think we're lying a lot of times in the press and the media and the Sussex one and everything. She's lying. So at some point, her truth is always going to be found out. And that's her problem, is that we don't all go along with her delusional fantasies about herself.
So we're going to come to Buckingham Palace's brilliant response to Meghan Markle wanting them to tell the truth. Are you sure? Are you sure? In just one moment. But first, breaking right now, Catherine, the Princess of Wales, has pulled out of attending Royal Ascot at the last minute, leaving Prince William to ride in the carriage alongside his father, King Charles, and Queen Camilla. The briefing to the royal rota is that this was a decision made because the Princess of Wales needs to balance things after her cancer recovery. But Brittany from the Royal News Network, is this something that we should be concerned about, given that very often we learn about royal health matters based on appearances or non-appearances at public events?
I think there is a reason to maybe be a bit concerned, but she's still recovering. And I was just in London last week. It has been pretty hot. So I can imagine being out there in the sun all day increases some risks. So maybe they were just sort of evaluating that and going, well, because she's still recovering, she's still a bit sensitive maybe to being outside for too long. Some things may get tough, and they've decided to pull out. My only sort of stipulation is that when it comes to the palace's communication strategy here, and I'm particularly talking about Kensington Palace, there was just about 30-minute gap between announcing the carriages and revising. And I just can't help but think, did they not know this enough ahead of time? Could Kensington Palace not have been a bit more on top of this? Because I imagine they probably knew a bit earlier in the day that she probably wasn't going to make it. So my more concern is that we're still getting these sort of communications mix-ups that I don't really think should be happening via Kensington Palace. I think there's a way to kind of avoid those type of conundrums where then it really does look like she's pulling out of something last minute, where it might be to do something with the kids. Maybe it is a bit with her health and recovery. We're not sure, but there are ways, I think, to avoid this communications mishap that avoids talk about Catherine's health.
There was some consternation because apparently it was actually Royal Ascot that had released the order of the carriages, which initially showed William and Catherine in the second carriage. And of course, he's now going to be in the first. And people are saying, well, it was never actually confirmed that she was going to be there. But we did know. That's the thing. And I think actually, Brittany, you're right to raise the weather, right? We are, what's 27 degrees in Fahrenheit? Like, probably for you Americans, it's not too much, but we struggle with 27 degrees at Royal Ascot. In fact, I was speaking to, according to Taz earlier, who's actually going to Ascot tomorrow with Lady Colin Campbell. And she was just saying, how am I going to cope with this weather? So it is highly possible that Catherine, still recovering from cancer, having had a very busy schedule, just thought, look, I can't stand being in that heat all day. We should say as well that she made it very clear that she's disappointed not to attend. And my goodness, Brittany, I want to talk about Trooping the Colour later because I know you were there, but it was just magical to see her with the family, wasn't it? So hopefully this isn't anything too serious.
I'm hoping it's not. Again, we had sort of the same snafu last year with her attending sort of the colonel's review before trooping, like the week before, that they, kind of had to pull back like last minute as well. Obviously, that was before I think we knew she had cancer, but I think overall, there was a communications lapse here. Yes, the Royal Ascot had that information, but Kensington Palace, as a communications team, their job is to be on top of these issues and to let Royal Ascot know immediately that she is not going to attend. So please adjust the carriages or wait while we get confirmation before releasing the carriage information. Again, those are the type of things that the Kensington Palace PR team is paid to do. And I think they should have been just a little bit more on top of it in this instance, but it was so exciting to see Catherine this weekend looking so great and so fabulous with the family.
Now, Buckingham Palace, this is the other big piece of breaking news today, have hit back at Meghan Markle and her claims to Emma Grede that she just wants people to tell the truth. Brittany. She just wants people to tell the truth about her time in the royal family, which I think has quite rightly really taken people aback, especially members of the Sussex Survivors Club. And so some of them have spoken out to Rebecca English of the Daily Mail. She is, of course, the royal editor of that publication, very much a royal insider, someone who follows the official narrative. And look at that headline, Meghan and Harry broke people. So we're going to go into the full response from Buckingham Palace and the Sussex Survivors Club via Rebecca English in just one moment. But first, in case you missed our special episode yesterday, where we decoded and analysed this awful Aspire podcast with Meghan Markle, where she was delusional and arrogant and yet again full with lies, here's what she had to say, Brittany, about why
Say
she
this to
just
you
wishes people would tell
in the
truth.
best way, because I wonder if you could rewrite your public narrative from scratch. Is there anything that you would do differently? Yes, I would ask people to tell the truth. You're very measured about it. I mean, I feel like, I don't know, I'm such a hothead.
Are you? What's your sign?
I'm a Libra. But I
don't
know,
if I
and it's
Libras.
like, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a bit, ghetto with it, like a little bit hood. I would just get so angry if I felt like everyone was lying about me all the time. Like, don't you ever feel just being like, just leave me alone. Like, let me show you. Is there a part of you that ever is just like, just leave me alone?
Peaks and valleys.
Peaks and valleys.
No, I mean, like,
Very elegant.
but it's true. Of course, I've gone through those chapters and you do a lot of work. You do a lot of self-work and go, what's the why? It's happening for a reason. And my dear friend Serena, who I'm sure you know.
I love Serena. She's
a
like my
good
girl crush.
Name
Talk
drop
about
her.
successful entrepreneur, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. She's doing so well.
She's
said to me
killing. I mean, she's
years ago-
literally, it's amazing that she can have like that type of career and then this type of business.
And then they just move on from what advice Serena Williams actually gave Brittany, because it's like diversion, isn't it? You see Meghan there, what's your sign so I don't have to talk about it? Then, it's much easier to talk about how Serena Williams is apparently my BFF. But this is an extraordinary claim, isn't it, Brittany, given that revealing the truth about Meghan Markle's time within the royal family would mean releasing the bullying report, releasing the birth certificates, and allowing the members of the Sussex Survivors Club to tell their stories of the most horrendous bullying at the hands of Meghan Markle. Does she really want to go down this path, Brittany?
Well, Meghan lives in the land of delusion. Let's be totally honest. She has a very tenuous grasp with reality. And you'll notice what she says there. It's so key. I would ask people to tell the truth about me. And the question was, what would you change? And then she's putting the burden on other people. She's always the victim. She's always the victim. She never did anything wrong. And the reality is, like, this was a moment for her to accept and acknowledge some of the faults that she made, some of the mistakes that she made. Because these allegations and sort of the lies that Meghan has perpetuated, in my personal opinion, that's why people don't trust her. That's why she has struggles continually with authenticity and so many things, is that it didn't erupt out of nothing. Meghan started it and then Meghan perpetuated it. It began especially publicly when she did her engagement interview. Oh, we don't have tabloids in the United States. Well, yes, we do. Like any American who's been to a supermarket knows we have tabloids. And saying, oh, I really didn't know that much about the royal family. And it's like, but you were pictured outside Buckingham Palace. You were moving in those aristocratic circles, or attempting to. So you had to at least have some sort of awareness. You have to either believe Meghan's been living under a rock or that she's really not that intelligent. Like, those are the only two routes you can go to, unless it's all a diversionary tactic and she's basically lying to your face to try to prop herself up and make herself, in an attempt to look, I think, more approachable, in the opposite way, makes people ask questions. And since then, she's done the same thing over and over and over again. And so she, I think, says somewhere in that interview as well, it's like, well, a lie can't live out there forever. Well, the problem, Meghan, is I don't think we're lying a lot of times in the press and the media and the Sussex one and everything. She's lying. So at some point, her truth is always going to be found out. And that's her problem, is that we don't all go along with her delusional fantasies about herself. And that's her real issue.
Indeed. And of course, unfortunately, this woman, Emma Grede, who apparently, according to the Sidley twins, has been accused of being a bully herself, did just go totally along with Meghan's narrative. And this is the problem. She's never going to put herself in front of anyone who is actually going to ask fair questions. And I don't even mean a gotcha interview, Brittany. That's never going to happen where someone like me really puts to her the hard truth. But I just mean someone who would be prepared to say, oh God, but you say this about your relationships with the stuff. Yeah. What about that report in the Hollywood Reporter? Did that really upset you that even your American staff are saying that you're bullying? Were they lying? Was there misunderstanding? But instead, it's just like nothing. It's just as if the Hollywood Reporter's lying too. Vanity Fair's lying too. No one is actually prepared to ask her any serious questions. But look, I want to get to this response via Rebecca English from Buckingham Palace sources in the Daily Mail because it's very interesting, Brittany. So let me take you through it. Rebecca English writes, many are loudly wondering why Meghan has raised the issue after all this time and asking pointedly whether she really wants to go down that road again. As one source tells me, there are a lot of people, both within the royal households and outside of them, who would love to say what really happened. Truth, it seems, Meghan, is not a one-way street. But 4 years after Buckingham Palace carried out an investigation into the claims, this is of the bullying claims, the results of the probe have never been made public. The accusations remain a matter of public record. Other former employees who refer to themselves half-jokingly as the Sussex Survivors Club have spoken of having PTSD after working for the couple. Others I know say they feel professionally and personally broken. So before we come back to the other claims, that is incredibly significant, isn't it, Brittany? You've got these members of the Sussex Survivors Club. I don't think they refer to themselves as that jokingly, from my understanding. I've reported on them for a long time too, saying they're suffering PTSD from their time working with Meghan. They still, even now, even 5 years on, feel professionally and personally broken. And yet Meghan is saying, well, I just want the truth to come out. Well, okay then. Allow these people to speak out. Be brave. Say that the NDAs no longer apply. Give them your permission to speak out, Meghan Markle. That surely has to be the challenge if she really wants the truth to emerge. Because, Brittany, I don't know about you, but I don't remember one courtier, not one courtier from the royal family who has spoken out in her defense.
Well, I think it comes back to sort of this idea that Meghan basically left a trail of bodies in her wake as she went through the royal family. She was deliberately nasty to a lot of people, allegedly bullied people and everything. And she just can't seem to take any stock of what she's done. Like, she's a classic narcissist, maybe a malignant one. And she, I think, enjoys toying with people. I think she enjoys sort of trying to destroy people in her own way to lift herself up. I mean, this comes from a woman who was also both massively egotistical and yes, also massively insecure. She has this sort of strange dynamic, you could say, but these poor people who are part of the Sussex Survivor Squad, if Meghan wanted to live by what she preaches, and we know she doesn't, she talks all the time, but she never actually follows through with anything, she would turn the comments on Instagram. She would let us see how many likes there are, how many reactions there are, how many shares there are, what the comments are saying. She doesn't want to do that because she's petrified of the truth. The truth scares her. Again, she has to live in this constructed, delusional, sort of Instagram-fueled fantasy where she believes that she's the queen and everything's good and that she's perfect and all these sorts of things. She cannot stand when people crack that veneer. And that is what drives her crazy. That's what continues to drive her now, is that when things don't go her way, she lashes out because, again, people are damaging this fantasy, delusional life she's created. And this is why every endeavor fails, is that she can't learn the lesson. She can't move on. She can hardly do anything. She's stuck in this perpetually endless toxic PR vortex because of her own decisions. And until she can acknowledge that, then the truth will always be the thing that scares her the most.
But first, If you're anything like me, you have spent so much time trying to find the perfect skincare treatments for your face, only to realize you've been neglecting the skin on your neck. But as I've got older, I've noticed that's a massive oversight because the neck is on display all the time, yet so many folk treat it as an afterthought in their routine. I mean, I know I fell into that trap. And so many women in our Outspoken audience have told me that the skin on your neck is actually thinner, more delicate, and less oily than facial skin, which means it requires specialized care. That's why I was completely blown away when I received my Go Pure Tighten and Lift Neck Cream. It's a product which is transforming the necks of women and some men like me all across the globe. It's such a gorgeous product too. I saw a noticeable difference within weeks, and I know it can become a game changer for you too. Outspoken viewers and listeners get 25% off Go Pure using the code DAN, that's DAN at checkout. Just head to gopure.com/Dan, use code DAN, and you're all set. Now, Go Pure's proprietary firming complex is designed to visibly firm and smooth the skin on your neck and chest in as little as 4 to 8 weeks. A consumer study, 100% of users said their skin looked more supple, 97% noticed a firmer appearance. Indeed, Go Pure's full line of science-backed skin and body care have delivered for over 100,000 real women with real results. It is dermatologist recommended and cruelty-free. Plus, with over 1 million jars sold, this beauty secret, well, it's no longer a secret, is it? So tighten, lift, and restore elasticity in your neck because your skincare routine shouldn't stop at your jawline. For a limited time, Outspoken viewers and listeners get 25% off Go Pure using the code DAN, that's Dan at checkout. So just head to gopurebeauty.com/Dan, use the code Dan, and you're all set. Oh, and by the way, after you buy, please do me a favor. When they ask where you heard about Go Pure, tell them it was after watching Outspoken. But now, back to the show. And I think that's why she chooses to surround herself, by the way, with people like Emma Grede and Jamie Kern-Lima, because they are enablers. They are enablers of the worst possible behaviour. But look, back to the Daily Mail's reporting, and Rebecca English goes on to write, speaking of the Duke's vitriolic 2023 memoir, Spare, her source, her royal source, says, I've always felt a little sympathetic, but that book was a work of complete revisionism. I was constantly thinking, hold on, Harry, it didn't happen like that. But it's important to stress for others, there is a strong sense of loyalty to the royal family and what I can only describe as a feeling of personal dignity and integrity, meaning they subscribe to the late Queen's motto, never complain, never explain. All qualities the Sussexes, who appear to have capitalised on taking down their nearest and not so dearest, seem to have spectacularly failed to comprehend. Many royal insiders cannot fathom why Meghan continues to worry away at this running sore, despite claiming that she is now in her chapter of joy and is finally able to be her authentic self. Hence why she posted the bizarre video of herself twerking before the birth of her daughter Lilibet. They add that Meghan might do well to remember that if she digs too deep into her royal experience, she might not like what comes to the surface. So, Brittany, a little bit of a warning there. You might call it a little bit of a threat. There seems to be a suggestion coming from within Buckingham Palace. If you keep going down this path, we will have no choice but to fight back.
Right. Meghan, of course, is somebody who just can't, again, handle the truth. And the palace is like, hey, we have basically all your dirty laundry here. We have all the skeletons in the closet. We know so much. And we are the ones attempting basically to protect her by not releasing the dam at this point. But Meghan is just can't seem to see it that way. And what we see constantly from Meghan is an attempt to rewrite history, attempt to push her narrative again and again and again. That's why she goes on these interviews and she basically talks about the same things all the time. She adds nothing of depth. She has adds nothing more because she really just doesn't have anything at this point. She keeps constantly telling us the same BS over and over and over again, thinking that if she just repeats it endlessly, that somehow we will finally believe it. But the problem is that she changes her persona based on the day. Like the differences between how she portrayed herself in the Jamie Kern-Lima interview versus this interview with Emma are radically different. And so Meghan is, of course, her biggest problem. It's not the palace, it's not the press, it's not the public. Meghan is her biggest issue. And Harry, I think, has to, in order to survive, go along with the delusions. And I'm sure he's a bit confused about everything too, because I'm sure she's told him a lot of half-truths, truths, lies, everything in between. And so he doesn't know when down is down. And it's easier for him to rewrite things too. But unfortunately for Meghan, the truth is not just your truth. There is objective truth. There is other people's truth. And those all eventually come out. And we've seen that slow leak. But at some point, the palace might go, hey, we're not going to hold you to your NDAs. Meghan and Harry don't actually hold the cards we do. So say whatever you want. We won't say a word.
By the way, Brittany, it was extraordinary hearing her use that twerking dance as evidence of the fact that she believes she is now putting out her authentic self to the world. Watch this.
Also to be authentic, I don't think there's any value either in being so rehearsed and just having your talking points and just saying the thing. No, just talk.
It's just not the time for it. I think that there is an element of where we are in culture right now that, like it or loathe it, we crave authenticity. Like we want those people that we believe, rightly or wrongly, are telling us the truth.
Yes.
And so I feel like there is no point in having rehearsed lines and a narrative that is like, fully, written out that isn't your own. You have to be authentic.
Just be authentic. Did you see my baby mama dance?
I mean, stop it. First of all, can I just tell you the timing of that?
She's so pleased with herself.
We maybe watched it like 20 times yesterday. And I was like, is that her?
Oh my God.
Prince
She's so
Harry
pleased with
there
herself.
with the fingers and the. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Meghan and Harry, let's go.
But I think
that's you, right? Like that's you in a way that we kind of haven't been able to see you before. And I did like a little secret cheer because I was like, well, that's what I kind of want to see from you. Like I want to see that happiness and that honesty and that like, I don't give a fuck.
But also, by the way, that wasn't yesterday.
No, true.
That was 4 years ago. So it's also a really great reminder that with all the noise or whatever people do, there's still a whole life, a real, authentic, fun life that's happening behind the scenes. I'm just grateful that now, being back on social as well, I have a place where I can share it on my own terms.
On your own terms.
Even though I thought the whole point, Brittany, of quitting the royal family was so she never had to share private moments again.
Great point. And of course, she is shilling out her children now and totally merching off them. I think she is totally betraying everything that she said for the reason that she left the royal family. But you go back to this idea of, oh, I'm just showing my authentic self, showing this carefully crafted twerking video that I did 4 years ago and firing PR people based on the reaction to that video. That's not authentic. That's a carefully calculated social media strategy. It lacks authenticity to the extreme. And to be honest, I did not see joy or happiness or anything in that video. I saw a woman obsessed with herself dancing to the camera and then gyrating like she's in a club when she's about to have, you could say, one of the most sacred moments in a couple's life, which is welcoming a child into the world. And she's monetizing off of it. And even when it comes to the kids and the pictures and the videos she's starting to share, is she doing that and taking those images because she wants to spend time with her kids, or does she need content? Those are two radically different things. And when you're using your kids for content, it just comes across as very slimy to a lot of people. There are entire groups of people dedicated to exposing family vlogging. And so Meghan is slowly dipping her toes into that realm. And we all know at this point, most of those family vlogs, none of that is authentic. It's all carefully curated and managed. And so is Meghan Markle. There's not an authentic bone in her body. Everything is carefully rehearsed. Everything is planned. She thinks constantly about what she's saying to try and to the best address and promote this persona that just is not real. There's nothing real there. I mean, I think we got a bit more of the glimpse of the twerking video of her true personality, which is a little tacky. in my personal opinion. So I think
You're very
maybe
kind.
at the end of the day,
I would say a
struggled with
lot
truth.
tacky. I would say gross and grim, to be totally honest. Speaking of gross and grim, breaking today, Meghan Markle's BFF, the godfather of Princess Lilibet, being sued for sexual assault. Now, this is Tyler Perry, the allegations from TMZ. I'm going to take you through them in detail. But first, Brittany, can we just set this up in terms of the significance of how Meghan Markle deals with this? Because you remember Jessica Mulroney, her best friend, the woman whose child, Ivy, was in her bridal party at her wedding. The moment Jessica Mulroney was caught up in a very minor scandal, actually, around the whole time of Black Lives Matter, some sort of racism scandal that wasn't actually really a thing. She was gone. She was banished, never to be seen again. Do we think, Brittany, we're going to see the same thing with Tyler Perry, or because he's a very famous billionaire, Meghan Markle is just going to be being able to overlook these allegations? Now, by the way, I very much believe in innocent until proven guilty, but Meghan Markle doesn't. That's not her shtick.
No, especially with the Jessica Mulroney situation, like it was so minor. Jessica lost so much, like a TV show appearance on GMA, and then she had an actual show and just all sorts of things. And she was just immediately cut like she didn't exist. And I think Meghan was definitely looking for an out with Jessica. She'd sort of run out of Jessica's usefulness. Jessica was no longer useful in her world. She lived in Canada. And so Meghan just cut her out. Tyler Perry, though, a little different. He's the godfather to her daughter, Lilibet. And he is a billionaire, loaned them his house, his jet. So she has a level of loyalty there. And to be quite honest, Meghan's true loyalty in life is money. And she will always be chasing the money, including if it means, I think, in my personal opinion, looking the other way when it comes to a scandal like this.
Indeed. Well, look, Brittany, let's go through the allegations here, because before we do that, I just want to give people a little reminder of how awful Tyler Perry is, even before these allegations, okay? Because he just bought into Meghan's lies about the British royal family, hook, line, and sinker, without any proof. And then he appeared in her Netflix series and made it very, very clear that he thought the British royal family were so disgusting, that they were clearly so racist, again, based on Meghan's lies, that he would not be little Lily's godfather if it meant attending a christening with the British royal family. Who does this guy think he is? But he actually said that. Watch.
We'll call and we'll chat and we'll talk about silly things. And they were pretty serious on the phone. I go, okay, what's going on? And they said, well, we'd like for you to be Lily's godfather. I go, whoa. I'd take a minute to take that in. And I thought I'd be honored. I'd absolutely be honored. And I got off the phone, took it all in, then I called him back. I go, hold on a second. Does this mean we got to go over there and do all of that in the church with them and figure all that out? Because I don't want to do that. Maybe we can do a little private ceremony here and let that be that. And if you have to do it there, then it's okay.
Oh, because God forbid. I mean, remember, Brittany, this was the time that Queen Elizabeth II was alive. God forbid, Tyler Perry, that you would have to be in church with the greatest monarch of all time. I mean, this is not a cool dude.
No, and obviously these allegations are very, very serious. So, we'll see what the veracity of them is. But when it comes to this whole, well, I just won't attend if I have to mix with the royal family. I mean, have you seen the cesspool that Hollywood is? I don't know, you have obviously Sean Puffy Combs in the mix here with his trial. I don't know how close Tyler Perry was with him, but we have a lot of, you could say, Harvey Weinstein and so many people who are seedy in the underbelly of Hollywood. And the people who mix in Hollywood, you just got to question, what they're doing behind the scenes so often. And yet you have Queen Elizabeth, a devout Christian woman who just simply wants the best for her family. And that's not good enough for Tyler Perry. He just went along with Meghan's lies. And that's why most people who just kind of go along with what Meghan says, they end up regretting it, because Meghan, again, can't really tell the truth. She tells her truth the way she sees it. And if you go along with that, you're going to be stuck in a sort of, I think, awful conundrum where you're kind of caught going along with the deception and the delusions, and it just doesn't end up well for you. So Tyler Perry in this situation, especially if these allegations turn out to be correct and have legs, then looks really bad, complaining about just simply having a religious christening with the royal family.
Indeed, and he had been pictured before with P. Diddy, by the way. But look, this is what TMZ reports. Tyler Perry is facing an accusation of sexual assault, a claim coming from an actor on his long-running TV show The Oval, and one Tyler's camp calls a scam. Derek Dixon filed a lawsuit against Perry, and in the docs he claims he and the director met at an event back in 2019. In Derek's words, Tyler picked him out of the crowd and asked for his phone number, suggesting he might have a role for him. As it turns out, he did. Derek says Tyler gave him a small role in 2 episodes of a show called Ruthless. Then in January 2020, Derek says Tyler invited him to his Atlanta home and he accepted, hoping to build a friendship that would lead to more acting gigs. But according to the suit, while there, Derek drank too much and ended up sleeping in a guest room. In the docs obtained by TMZ, Derek claims Tyler got into bed with him and started touching his thighs, and although he rejected the advances that night, he claims Tyler remained interested. Shortly thereafter, Derek says he landed the role of Dale in The Oval, great for his career, but he claims it was around this time that Tyler also started firing off sexually suggestive texts, including asking what Drew's sexual preferences were and telling him he has sex with men. Derek also notes his character Dale was written as a gay, homeless and desperate store clerk who had to sleep with other characters for a place to stay. He claims that's exactly what Tyler told him he was looking for in a real-life sexual partner, someone who would be loyal and dependent upon Tyler. Derek says he feared his career would be derailed if he flatly rejected Tyler, so instead he told him he just wasn't the sexual type, but he was always terrified he'd lose his job if he complained of sexual harassment. To that point, he says Tyler once again invited him to Atlanta later in 2020 and things allegedly took a dark turn. Derek claims Perry greeted him warmly but quickly started a sexually charged conversation, like asking him if he likes it rough in bed. And then he grabbed Derek by the throat while saying, "Look how excited you just got." He says he pushed Tyler away, and that was the end of that alleged incident. The lawsuit includes years of text messages allegedly sent between both men. Most of the ones Tyler allegedly sent are sexually charged. For instance, one reads, "No straight man would be going on walks with you or cooking you dinner for you unless they wanted to F you, I would F you." The most aggressive incident allegedly went down in 2021, again at Tyler's Atlanta home. Dixon was staying in the guest house and wearing only his underwear when he says Tyler came in to give him a goodnight hug. He alleges Tyler yanked down his underwear, groped his butt and said, "Relax and just let it happen," and assured him it wasn't going to hurt. Dixon says he managed to rebuff this advance by changing the subject. According to the suit, Dixon filed a complaint with Equal Employment and Opportunity Commission in June 2024 and then quit the Oval, saying he could no longer put up with the alleged sexual harassment. Dixon is suing Tyler and Tyler Perry Studios for quid pro quo and workplace sexual harassment and sexual assault and battery, and he's seeking $260 million in damages. Tyler's attorney, Matthew Bond, says to TMZ this is an individual who got close to Tyler Perry for what now appears to be nothing more than setting up a scam, but Tyler will not be shaken down, and we are confident these fabricated claims of harassment will fail. Queer Lips of Truth, on hearing this, Brittany posted, "I wonder if Tyler Perry and Prince Harry had similar encounters. The most aggressive incident obviously was the one that we just outlined." I mean, Brittany, a lot to take in there, but given what Meghan ghosted Jessica Mulrooney for, what do you think?
I mean, if Meghan is holding to her own standard by now, she should be slowly walking away from Tyler Perry. But again, he has a lot of money and power and influence. And we've seen over, I especially would argue the last 10 to 20 years, that talks a lot in Hollywood, and people are more than willing to look the other way from allegedly bad behavior if somebody has a certain level of power and influence. And so I'm sure Meghan, who's still sort of desperate to make it in Hollywood, she's been very, very much struggling to make ends meet, I think, in some ways, is going to keep Tyler around, in my personal opinion, regardless of these allegations. But, reading through them, you can see sort of echoes of what we've heard in other situations with Hollywood types. And so I could definitely see there being some truth here. I don't know for sure, but it's definitely very serious. We will see where it goes, if it gets settled out of court or anything like that. But it also happens to be the case when one person comes up, sometimes the dominoes start to fall and more people come out. So it remains to be seen whether this will just be a one-time thing, which maybe lends to the idea that maybe this is more fabricated, or if we get extra actor, person after person coming out who's had interactions with Tyler Perry who reports the same thing. That's definitely well worth waiting to see if that happens. But Meghan, for sure, I think, is just going to act like nothing happened. He has a lot of power and influence that she's desperate to have. And always for Meghan Markle, it's if you have a private jet, she is your best friend. And Tyler Perry does. So they will remain best friends until it's too difficult to do otherwise.
Oh, how cynical you are, Brittany, but completely right. And I totally agree. Of course, if you do want first access, by the way, to the Royal Uncancelled After Show every single weekday, then please sign up to my Substack, www.outspoken.live.
Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.